Canada did not play football in the first half. Canada played ice hockey, its first national sport. It was easier to score than to miss, and he achieved the most difficult task. He missed. The golden rule of football: you don't punish your opponent, you don't score, you get punished. Game number 3, World Cup 2026. Today, history was made in front of our eyes. Maybe not everybody noticed, but it was the first in history match of a final part of a World Cup on Canadian soil in Toronto. Canada will remember it forever, and we'll remember it as well. The national anthems, it was extraordinary. Alexander Gajic, who is a violinist, who is a Balkan artist, respected in all Eastern and Central Europe, he performed the anthem of Bosnia-Herzegovina. It was emotional violin sound which absolutely filled the stadium. And then Alanis Morissette, who is freshly inducted to the Hall of Fame. She is in the Hall of Fame of songwriters. She performed O Canada, the Canadian anthem. And to me, it was the most emotional moment of the first half, the whole first half. In the interval, Ruud Gullit, a superstar of Dutch football and now a superstar commentator on beIN channel, said, well, Canada played with its heart but didn't play with its brain. Well, you know, I don't disagree with Gullit in no way, but I want to add, Canada did not play football in the first half. Canada played ice hockey, its first national sport. It was throw-ins of a puck, of a ball in this case, very heavy forechecking, very intense, and then you lose a ball or you lose a puck, you skate immediately back even if you have to commit a foul and you get a 2-minute penalty. And here it happened the same thing. On a 12th minute, Alistair Davis, a Canadian defender, he had to commit a foul because a Bosnian player was running away, and actually the Brazilian referee of the first game in Mexico City, I'm sure he would have given a red card directly. Here no, the Argentinian referee was much more, I think in this case, not humane, but he was much more rational. Yellow is enough. And Canada played it played not football. It didn't resemble football at all. But even a mediocre team playing mediocre football gets its chance. It's inevitable that you get a chance. And on the 16th minute of the first half, Jonathan David had a fantastic opportunity. I mean, it was impossible to miss. It was easier to score than to miss. And he achieved the most difficult task. He missed. Jonathan David had an absolutely, what should I say, unhappy season which should be forgotten in his personal career in Juventus. His season was horrible, and basically that's what he repeated in the first half, in that moment especially. And I played football in Canada. At the beginning of the 1970s to the middle of the 1970s, I played club football and I played university football. I was playing for the McGill team, University of McGill. And in '76, I was named one of the all-star players in midfield. And the interesting thing is that the center forward, all-star center forward, was Mario Corsi. He was named. But what is more curious, surprise, surprise, that in the end, at the end, he became the goalie of the Italian ice hockey national team. And I don't foresee that future for Jonathan Davis. He's not going to play hockey. Well, the golden rule of football: you don't punish your opponent, you don't score, you get punished. And exactly 4 minutes later, from an absolutely standard situation of a corner kick, which has been repeatedly, I think, tried on a training ground, the ball is flipped to the near post, and in the center, all of a sudden, a forward appears and basically puts just the ball into the net. And that's what happened, and that's what happened exactly 4 minutes after Jonathan David's miss. That's how football is. And the rest of the first half, as I said, Canadians played hockey, and Bosnians actually watched how they play, because it was not difficult for the Bosnians to defend themselves against such tactics and such a style of play. In the second half, everything absolutely changed. Canada started to play football. Play football, that means they start looking for each other, passing to each other, finding each other, and they risked personal qualities in trying to dribble, in trying to get into the penalty box. And it was a completely different Canada. It was not anymore hockey. It was football, finally. But when you don't have somebody who finishes and finalizes, you attack, you have chances, you have glorious chances, you have 100% chances, but the score is 1-0 and Bosnia is winning. At the 76th minute, imagine, the player who came in, a forward, an experienced forward, the most experienced forward in the Canadian team, Kyle Larin, it took him 3 minutes to score, because he got himself in the right place, in the right time, in the penalty box, and with a perfect shot. And here, Canada tied, and they tried. Canada is quite a young team, and the weather in Toronto was wonderful. I mean, it was not hot. So physically, Canadians were strong enough, and they are strong enough, to run 96, 100 minutes. And they did, and they had a lot of chances, many chances, at the end. But well, you know, the ball is round, and you cannot predict its trajectory. Oh, it didn't go in. So now we are at a point where in this group, where Canada, Bosnia, they have to face Qatar and Switzerland, the situation becomes very difficult for these two teams. Because Bosnia is a team that makes your opponent her opponent. It imposes such a game tactically that the opponent looks bad, it looks weak. You know, they don't give you spaces, they read your game immediately, they understand what you're trying to do. It's a clever team. It's a clever team in a sense of not making the opponent play or make him play badly. The second half, Canada showed that you can overcome it. I think for Bosnia it will be very difficult to overcome Qatar, very difficult, and absolutely impossible to overcome Switzerland. And Canada will also not overcome Switzerland, because Switzerland is from an absolutely different level. And Canada will have to beat Qatar. And I think that is going to be, I mean, those two matches Qatar, Canada and Qatar, Bosnia are going to be the decisive matches in this group, in my opinion. Now, I don't see three teams taking 4 points. So it's difficult to imagine that three teams of that group are going to go into the knockout stage. And if Canada manages to forget a little bit about hockey, though it's very difficult, because the Canadian managers, no matter what they say, no matter what publicly is stated, the hockey tradition is in their blood, in their DNA, as they say. You know, hockey is in the DNA, I think, of every Canadian. And it's very difficult, you know, it's my personal, also my experience. I mean, in the trainings, you know, you get, you know, the fork checking, the throwing in the deep ball deep, trying to go forward, defend the ball, try to push your opponent. But I mean, in football, it doesn't work. You have to run and pass, run and pass, run and pass. But not just run, be clever in your running, finding spaces, and not being afraid of using your personal technique, because technique is football. In football, it's all. So it finished, and 1-1. And what can I say? I think that Canada may have deserved more, but in football, it's not about deserving. It's about scoring. So here we are, and the next game, game number 4, is another opening game in Los Angeles, United States, Paraguay. And in a few hours, we'll meet, and I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you my thoughts. I hope you'll be with us.